The movie starts in 1864, with a Danish family traveling to America, led by war veterans Peter and his brother John, along with John's wife Marie and their son Kresten. When they settle into their new home, Peter unexpectedly leaves, leaving John, Marie, and their child to adjust on their own. Trying to leave their problems behind, they share a carriage with a seemingly friendly couple, Paul and Lester. However, Paul and Lester are recently released criminals with bad intentions. Communication problems arise as Marie and Kresten struggle with English, so John deals with the strangers. Despite initial friendliness, tensions build as Paul and Lester's true intentions become clear, leading to a suspenseful story of deception and survival. As tensions rise in the carriage, Paul brings out a bottle of liquor, drinks it, and then offers some to Marie, who firmly refuses, creating an uneasy atmosphere. John, sensing trouble, quietly signals Marie to accept just one drink, hoping to ease the tension. Reluctantly, she agrees. The alcohol quickly affects Paul, making him fixate on Marie in a disturbing way. His behavior gets worse as he starts touching her against her will. Disgusted and angry, John steps in, demanding Paul stop and go back to his place. Their fight becomes dangerous when Lester, Paul's partner, pulls out a gun, threatening the helpless family. In a tense moment, Paul aggressively moves towards Marie, causing John to react without thinking. He grabs Lester's gun and points it at them, ordering them to get off, but the situation worsens when Lester grabs Kresten and holds a knife to him. As tensions peak, Paul reveals he has two guns, one pointed at John and the other at Marie. He gives John an ultimatum: surrender his weapon in 5 seconds or risk his wife and son's lives. John faces a tough choice between his family's safety and his own resistance. In a heart-pounding moment, John drops his gun, surrendering to the standoff, but is thrown out of the coach. Desperately, John chases the speeding buggy despite his injuries. The gap between them grows, but he doesn't give up, driven by determination and grief. When he finally reaches the carriage, he finds his son's lifeless body on the path. Overcome with sorrow, he collapses, holding his son and weeping uncontrollably. As he grapples with the loss, his grief turns into seething anger. He sees the buggy stopped in the distance. With grim resolve, he picks up his gun and begins a slow, deliberate approach. He notices the driver's lifeless body on the road. With rising fury, he focuses on Lester, the cause of this tragedy, and moves in with a determined purpose, killing the two convicts. John's world falls apart as he faces the lifeless body of Marie, his heart shattered. Despite his grief, he gently lifts her onto a horse, unable to leave her behind, and begins the painful journey home. When he arrives with her body, John's brother Peter offers what little comfort he can in the midst of the tragedy. Peter, understanding his pain, silently tends to him, knowing words are inadequate on such a day of immense loss. Meanwhile, in another part of the region, a notorious mafia figure and land baron named Henry Delarue learns of his brother Paul's death. Consumed by rage and grief, Delarue begins a relentless quest for vengeance, searching villages for any trace of the killer. His search leads him to the village where John lives, and he confronts the mayor, Keane, demanding answers. Unmoved by the mayor's claims of innocence, Delarue insists that someone in the village is responsible for his brother's death. Threatening the villagers with dire consequences, he sets a brutal ultimatum: produce the killer within 2 hours or face his ruthless wrath. The villagers, gripped by fear and uncertainty, realize the dangerous situation they are in, with the looming threat of violence hanging over them like a dark cloud. The village is paralyzed with fear as Delarue, a menacing figure, threatens the lives of its residents. His demand is brutally simple. If his brother's killer isn't handed over, he'll execute 2 innocent villagers. As the clock ticks down, the tension in the village reaches a breaking point. The 2 hours given by Delarue pass quickly, and the killer remains unknown. Desperation sets in as the mayor, bearing the burden of the villagers' lives, steps forward with 2 chosen sacrifices. The first is an elderly woman, her face lined with years of hardship. Though frail, she stands firm, ready to sacrifice herself to protect her fellow villagers from Delarue's wrath. The second is a man, his legs crippled by fate. Despite his physical limitations, his eyes burn with determination. Feeling his life holds little value, he too steps forward, ready to make the ultimate sacrifice for his community. Delarue, unmoved by their bravery, coldly draws his gun and shoots the man in the street. Turning to the elderly woman, his gaze hardens. In his rage, Delarue manages to pull the trigger, but the woman's sacrifice is not in vain as the shot goes wild. Undeterred, Delarue, driven by a thirst for revenge, turns his gun on an unsuspecting villager. In a cruel twist, he accuses the villagers of ignoring his demands, saying they intentionally sent an old woman and a disabled man to their deaths. However, the truth reveals a darker side of the village's dealings. It comes to light that the mayor has been paying Delarue $88 a month to keep the village safe from his wrath. Now, emboldened by his brother's death, Delarue demands $160, a sum that threatens to choke the struggling village. As the dust settles, the villagers are left to face the consequences of their actions and the harsh reality of living under a ruthless tyrant. The sacrifices of the elderly woman and the brave man weigh heavily on their hearts, their memories forever scarred by violence and fear. With Delarue's threat of vengeance looming, he issues a chilling warning: pay up or face even worse consequences. The villagers, already burdened with fear, know their lives hang by a thread. Meanwhile, amidst the chaos, the villagers gather to bury Paul, leaving his widow, Madelaine, to face her harsh reality. Madelaine's desire for revenge is clear, but she urges caution, signaling for silence when talk of retaliation arises. On the other side of the village, John takes on the heartbreaking task of burying his wife and child, the weight of his grief evident as he lays them to rest. With little left to sustain themselves, John and Peter decide to sell what they can to leave the village. As they navigate selling their belongings, a chance encounter reveals they are skilled marksmen. The shopkeeper, intrigued by their abilities, sees an opportunity for defense against the looming threat. He proposes they stay and help defend the village when the attack comes. However, Peter, aware of their grim situation, advises against it. Knowing the odds are against them in a confrontation with Delarue's forces, he urges the shopkeeper to focus on the villagers' safety by avoiding conflict. Unwilling to listen, the shopkeeper accuses him of cowardice. The tension is thick with uncertainty for the villagers and their once peaceful village. John approaches the mayor to sell the land he bought 6 years ago for $140. He's surprised to learn he can only get $150 for it now. He expresses his dismay, explaining his dire situation. The mayor sympathizes, revealing the villagers' financial struggles due to paying $160 a month. John is confused until the mayor explains the impact of Delarue's brother's murder. Realizing the severity of the situation, John understands his own troubles are likely to worsen. Resigned, he agrees to sell the land for the offered amount. The mayor advises him to hide the money in his shoes to avoid being robbed. Following the advice, John hides the money and prepares to leave the village. As John and Peter prepare to leave, they are apprehended by the town's sheriff and minister, Mallick. John finds himself in a cell, where Mallick chillingly informs him that his death would buy the town more time, as he attempts to notify higher authorities of Delarue's crimes. Unbeknownst to Mallick, Delarue has been working with the Standard Atlantic Oil Company to seize control of Black Creek and its surrounding lands, rich with valuable crude oil. Mayor Keane, working with Delarue, has helped facilitate the land acquisition scheme. In a cruel twist, it's revealed that Delarue's mute widowed sister-in-law, Madelaine, serves as his accountant and suffers unspeakable abuse at his hands. The next day, John is taken to Delarue's stronghold, an abandoned town, where he is tied to a post and left to suffer under the scorching sun. Back in Black Creek, Peter breaks out of jail and launches a daring attack that kills several of Delarue's henchmen. He frees John, and the two make a desperate escape, pursued by Delarue and his remaining men. Recognizing John's weakened state, Peter diverts their pursuers, ultimately sacrificing himself in the process. With Delarue's gang distracted, Madelaine seizes the opportunity, steals Delarue's ill-gotten gains, and makes a break for a passing train, leaving chaos behind. After she is captured by the train, Delarue callously orders his men to assault her, before planning to kill her. Meanwhile, battered and weary, John wanders the countryside searching for refuge and food. He stumbles upon the modest home of Mrs. Whistler, whose husband was a victim of Delarue's cruelty. Finding solace in her home, he begins to recover from his wounds while Mrs. Whistler and her children flee to safety. Upon returning to town, John confronts and takes revenge on Mayor Keane for his treachery. Armed with weapons from the general store, he reluctantly teams up with Voichek, the young storekeeper who harbors a deep vendetta against Delarue for his grandmother's death. Using cunning tactics and ambushes, John systematically eliminates Delarue's henchmen one by one. Tragedy strikes as Voichek falls in the line of fire, accidentally setting the hotel where Madelaine is imprisoned on fire. The chaos of the fire allows her to break free. In a final showdown, Delarue confronts John, gravely injuring him in the struggle. As Delarue prepares to deliver the killing blow, Madelaine, driven by her torment and resilience, fires 2 shots at Delarue. John finishes him off with a fatal shot to the head. Just as victory seems within reach, Sheriff Mallick and his deputies arrive. They express gratitude to John for his bravery in standing up to Delarue's tyranny. However, when they move to arrest Madelaine, John intervenes, declaring he will take her with him. The 2 survivors leave together, abandoning the town now free from Delarue's grip. Despite the town's liberation, the land ultimately falls into the hands of the insatiable oil company, marking a poignant end to the story of sacrifice, justice, and the cost of survival. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.